Minion in! You know how I sometimes go out of my way on ridiculous research binges? I did it for XP grinding techniques and again to confirm smuggler locations. And even though I keep saying that was the very last time, it wasn't. So I went on a taming binge. I went hours on end in different areas with different animals, with different weapons and different lures. And I think what I have to share will change the way you tame. Being a game developer myself also gives me some mechanics insights you may not have, and I'll be sharing those with you as well. Let's get started. Before we continue, this guide is being brought to you by Razer Kraken gaming headset. It has a lightweight aluminum frame, so it sits comfortably. You'll barely know it's there. And the best thing about it is its retractable noise isolating microphone. Guys, if you've seen some of my earlier videos, you know how important noise isolating microphones can be. Use it on your PC, use it in your console. It's got a 3.5mm headphone jack, and it sounds amazing, it looks amazing, it feels amazing. You can support me and my videos and treat yourself at the same time by clicking the link in the description below and getting yourself a Razer Kraken today. Alright, let's go. Once you get your estate, you also gain the ability to tame wild animals. Some can be harvested for resources, others can be trained to use as mounts. Once you capture an animal, you can assign it to the animal pen on your estate. For more on that and how estates work, you can click this card to see my estates guide. This video is focused more on actually catching animals out in the world. First, the basics. To capture an animal, all you have to do is fight it. If it's tameable, at some point during the fight it will become impervious to damage and enter taming mode. When this happens, approach quickly and hold down X to begin taming. You'll be prompted to complete a QuickTime event in which you're given a series of buttons to press. All you have to do is follow the sequence. There's no rush, so take your time and do it right. The exception is when you're trying to tame a rare species animal. In that case, you need to be fast or miss your chance. More on those later. A very common misconception about taming is that a random number generator kicks in every time you land a hit on an animal to see if a tame becomes available. Speaking as a game dev, that would be poor design and sloppy implementation. That is a performance nightmare in action. Speaking as someone who spent hours trying all kinds of different methods, I can tell you with fair certainty that this theory is garbage. If that were true, my taming rate should have gone up significantly when I bought a gray D rank sword and went taming with that. It took ages to kill anything, and I was taming significantly less than before. Putting together what I learned about taming with what I know about actually creating game mechanics, here's how I see taming actually working. When an animal spawns in the world, a random number generator, or RNG, determines at that point whether or not that animal is tameable. Sometimes the tame happens when the animal's health is low, sometimes it's triggered on the first hit, so it is safe to assume that a health percentage is also determined at this point, so that the animal knows at what point the event should be triggered. So it is safe to hit animals hard and fast. As long as you don't one-shot it, then an animal that is tameable will trigger the event no matter how often you hit it or how much damage you do. But Minion, what about lures? That theory makes no sense. It does, and I'll tell you why after I explain what lures are. Every mount merchant on Lumios also sells a series of lures. Using one increases the frequency in which a certain type of animal is tamed. Here's how that works. You might assume that using a lure increases the success percentage of triggering a particular animal's taming event. What actually happens is that the lure doesn't affect animals that are already tameable at all. What it does is make more animals tameable. Allow me to get technical for a moment. Let's say there are 20 buffalo on the Navarra Plains. And let's say the RNG determines that 2% of them are tameable. That would mean one of those buffaloes is a tameable animal. The trick is to kill your way through the herd until you find that one. Now let's say you use a buffalo lure. Hidden in that herd may be another 2% of animals that are predetermined as tameable, but only to an active lure. In this way, the lure doesn't make already tameable animals more likely to be tamed, it gives you access to an increased amount of tameable animals. Get it? Buffalo number 1 was just waiting to be tamed anyway, and Buffalo 2 was also always ready to be tamed by anyone using a buffalo lure. The other 18 buffalo were never going to be tamed, ever, no matter how many times you hit them. So what we've learned is focusing on long fights with single animals gets you jack. The most tames in a given time period comes from killing as many animals as quickly as possible. You can even group them and use AoEs, but you should keep in mind that if one of those animals triggers a taming event while the rest are still alive, Those remaining animals will eat your face while you're busy doing the QuickTime event. It is also important to know that not once ever did I trigger a taming event by hitting an animal with a skill. 100% of the time, those events were triggered by regular attack combos. So keep that in mind when plowing through an entire herd of wildlife like a vegan's worst nightmare. The best advice I can give you for bringing up your taming rate is pick an animal that you can kill using a single combo, find an area heavily saturated with that animal, and then just go through them like a fat kid in a donut shop. Once you tame an animal, it becomes a unit of labor on your estate. You can assign it to your animal pen, where it will be processed for things like leather, cloth, or meat. But sometimes an animal will allow itself to be processed into a mount coin. Essentially, this is training instead of harvesting. You can either use the coin yourself to add that animal to your stable, or sell it on the player market for starseeds. In addition to regular animals, you may also encounter a coveted rare species. Some people spend days in known spawn locations for just such a chance. They don't appear often, and taming one does not always guarantee that they will produce a mount. Few things are more heartbreaking than capturing that adorable panda in hopes of getting the mount, and then having to turn that widow teddy bear into couch cushions and some shish kebab. Rare species only spawn in certain locations, so if you want one, you're going to have to camp. Keep an eye out for my guide on rare spawn locations. Now you know how taming works. If you have questions, feel free to comment or hit me up on Discord. And if you want to know when the next guide comes out, hit the bell next to the subscribe button to be notified. Now go be freaking heroes. Minion out.